Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a TV review. Today we're going to be having a look at Robin of Sherwood, Season 1. So, Robin of Sherwood is a 80s British TV show, obviously about Robin Hood. There's been many adaptations of Robin Hood throughout the years, but this, I have to say, is possibly my favourite out of all of them, including ones that are on film. And it was a very popular series when it was aired in the UK, and has a lot of fans to this day. In the other countries, it was kind of edited together, or some episodes were edited together as like a sort of films, really, like a mini features. I'm not sure if it was ran certainly initially as a full series in other countries, but obviously here in England it was, so that's what we'll talk about. So one of the things I'll say about these Robin Hood series is that they're very short. There's only 6 episodes in season 1, which is, as you know, even for UK TV, that's actually still pretty short. So the point difference with Robin of Sherwood is the setting is far more magical and mystical than sort of other incarnations of Robin Hood that you've seen. A lot of it, I think, is due to the music, which is made by Praed, which, you know, I think is fantastic for the TV show, and really builds some fantastic atmosphere. It can be a fairly slow moving TV show, and there are some actions in it. It's, you know, the action for the time is fun to watch. Certainly not very bloody. I don't remember seeing very much blood at all in it, or if any, but that's because obviously the time it was airing was sort of early evening, obviously with kids there before the watershed, so they weren't allowed to show certain things. But there you go. It's what the times was back then. So you've got Michael Praed as Robin Hood. Probably in his early to mid 20s, I would say. I think makes, for me, my favourite Robin Hood. Any sort of incarnation of it. Very believable as a kind of leader of men, very earnest, looks great in the part, you know, really sells it to you, and is very, very charismatic in it. As are the rest of the cast, I have to say. My personal favourites are, other than Robin, is obviously Will Scarlet, played by Ray Winston, who essentially plays Ray Winston, basically your kind of your football thug of the Merry Men, but you know, this is an early role for him, and he's a great physical actor, and he really brings some intent, and you do think he's properly, you know, he's a proper live wire, and can sort of would sooner stab you than say hello to you. So fantastic. Nicholas Grace as the Sheriff of Nottingham, who is both camp and kind of menacing at the same time, and very, very sort of unpredictable. And he has some great scenes with Guy of Gisburne. My other favourite, and possibly the fan favourite, is a character called Nazir, who, it's interesting, was actually made specifically for this show. Now, if you have the DVD and you've watched the special features, there's an interesting sort of little bit, there's a gossip on there really, that he was actually originally going to be just a one-shot character, but he was the crew, and he was so sort of taken with his performance and his sort of character, and they thought he was going to be a great addition, so they just added him into the cast. And you know, since then, ironically, he's kind of you've had, because he was basically playing a Saracen, so he was really the only sort of other the racial minority, if you like, in Robin Hood. So you've seen later incarnations, in particular the Kevin Costner film, which had Morgan Freeman as the sort of Saracen, and that was directly because of this. The producers of that show actually thought that there was a Saracen in Robin Hood lore, and he was called Nazir initially in the Kevin Costner film. Morgan Freeman character was called Nazir because they just thought it was part of the legend. But Richard Carpenter, who essentially wrote this, was like, hang on a second, I just created him for the sake of this show, and they changed his name in the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. So it's a real fun show to watch. I mean, it's absolutely drips with atmosphere. It's a little bit heavy on the old smoke machine, but it is the 80s, so you can kind of look past that, and it's maybe they don't quite look as dirty as you know, but there you go. It's the sign of the times, isn't it? Maybe not quite as realistic as if it was made today, but you know, it's part of its charm, certainly. As I say, you got your first season. Essentially starts off with a two-parter, Robin Hood and the Sorcerers. It's essentially the origin of Robin Hood. Now, there are actually two main sort of origins of Robin Hood, and what's interesting about this show, and if you've not seen it, I won't spoil it too much for you now, but it actually deals with both of them. So for this one, it actually deals with Robin of Loxley, who is essentially the last of his village that are sort of killed by the sheriff's men, and him essentially banding his merry men together in the initial couple of episodes. Next up, you've got the Witch of Ellison. Then you've got 7 Poor Knights from Acre, which is probably one of my favourite episodes. And basically, you've got Knights Templar, which is I think you know, it's a fun episode to watch. Then you've got an episode Allendale, which is actually another kind of medieval tale. Initially, nothing to do with Robin Hood, but they've kind of woven him into the Robin Hood plots on here. It's kind of a fun episode. And then the King's Fall, which is also one of my favourite episodes, which is Robin Hood's meeting with Richard Lionheart, played by John Rhys Davies, and that is the season. So it's a fun show to watch. The episodes, I think, are quite varied for really a bunch of guys and a girl in the woods. I mean, how much variation can you do? But I think the stories are good to watch, and it doesn't really repeat itself in too much. I don't think the chemistry with the cast, I think, is absolutely fantastic, and it really shows. I mean, if you watch the special features, you kind of pick it up. It's a shame this series is fairly short lived. I mean, there's 3 seasons in total. The 3rd season was a little longer than the other 2, but there's not a hell of a lot of episodes, and I think a lot of people were kind of hoping that they might pick it up later on, you know, with a kind of 20 years later series, but you know, it doesn't look like that will ever happen, so we'll have to just make do with this. But it's a fun show. Maybe it's a little bit slow moving, but I quite like it like that, because you've got lots of character development. The chemistry is fantastic. I'd actually give this show, certainly season 1, a 9 out of 10. So have you seen it? What do you think? And what do you think of Michael Praed as Robin Hood? And how do you think he compares to, you know, your Russell Crowes and your Kevin Costners and other Robin Hoods? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you next time.